Hello, I'm Captain Christopher Sage from the 137th Wing in Oklahoma City. I am here to give a demo on the G00 database that we use at our wing. I've created a shared Facebook group for people who are interested in using this tool. The purpose of this video is just to go over some high-level features of what the database does. It's basically, if you were thinking about whether or not to use this and if it's going to meet your needs, this would be the first video to watch, because I'm going to go over just the basic details. But if you are watching this video and you're not currently a member of the group and you're interested, please go ahead and find me on Facebook, Christopher Sage from Oklahoma City. I'm also in the USAF Comptroller group. You can find me on there. Or you can also find me on my military email. I'm in the global. However, this Facebook group, I do want to make one statement that I am a traditional reservist or traditional guardsman, so I am not checking my military email every single day like most people are. So your best hope to get a response from me is probably via email. My email address is christopher.sage@sagenet.us. That's one way to get a hold of me, but this Facebook group is probably the best way, or just on Facebook in general. So if you're interested in becoming a member of the group, find me and ask to be added to that group. I'll send you the link, and then you can send me a request to be added, and I'll get you into the page. Once you are a member, you'll be able to get in here. And the intent of this group is to basically be sort of a collaborative development group. So if you're interested in using it, we can help each other out. Other members of the group who are members and are using it can also help each other out. That was the whole idea by using Facebook as a tool to collaborate. Out on the page, though, there's a G00 database zip that contains all of the files that you need. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to create a G00 database folder on your C drive. So if you need to create a new folder, go ahead and do that before you download it. But create a new folder, name it G00 Database, and it is G00, not G00. It's very important that you get the syntax exactly right, because it's expecting files to be in certain places. That was the strategy that I used, rather than using another method that would allow you to select files. But basically, go ahead and download the file. You'll want to open it, and you want to extract or copy over to that folder that you just created. So I've already got that in there, so I'm not going to overwrite what I'm doing for purposes of this video, but you'll want to just paste it right in here. And once you've done that, you should see a structure like this. So there's a documentation, a README inside of there. This gives you a basic overview of everything that the database and the associated files does for you. Basically what it does is it takes data sources out of your personnel listing and your G00 lines, and it merges it together, and the end result is you can run reports, create statistical tracking to report to commanders and RAs, and it also will automate the sending of emails. It'll automatically send emails using the mail merge function in Word. I'm not going to get into those details absolutely for this video, but I will just give you a quick demo of them. There's a couple other things in there too. Like I said, it automatically evaluates and performs an aging on the orders. It identifies DTS versus non-DTS, as well as airline tickets, MTAs, debts, etc. There's some reports there that I'll briefly demo in this video. There's a follow-up capability that you can enter comments. We don't really use that, but it's there if you want to further develop it. And there's also a separate database table for members that are on your G00 that are not in your personnel listing. And that happens if somebody separates and you've still got something there. If we're all doing what we're supposed to do, hopefully they're out processing and getting those those open items cleared before they out process, but you know, the real world is that it does happen. So there's a capability in there that you can keep track of those folks as well. Again, I mentioned the data sources. It uses a CRIS query inside of the folder here. I've got an example of that query. You're going to want to go ahead and import that into your CRIS profile and modify the query parameters. Don't change any of the columns. You need to keep the column formats of your data sources exactly as they appear. If you modify those, it'll mess it up, and I'm just trying to keep things as predictable and stable as possible. So you'll want to import that report library into your CRIS profile and then modify the OAC band and any parameters that may be unique at your wing or in your unit, or you know, whatever the case might be. But again, do not modify any of the column headings. You're also going to have to get with your personnel folks in FSS. You're going to need to get an alpha roster. They have a system called CRIS, and that's where this data is from. This is an example of the output file, and you'll want to get with them and have them create a query that have these fields in this order exactly as they appear. I've sanitized a lot of this data, so that's why it's, you know, it looks a little odd, but you know, that's for purposes of being able to share it. And a lot of these fields, once you're able to link up the name and social, which I forgot to mention, there's the social security number in this report too. So social security number, name, email address, home email address, their organization, their duty phone, their grade, and this is something that we use as in the Air National Guard, and that's a duty status. I'm not sure what that would look like on the active duty side. It's probably just something along the lines of you know, probably all active duty. So it may not be as meaningful to our active duty counterparts, but in the Guard and Reserves, it's pretty important for us to be able to determine this per member. So that's an example of the data file that you will use, and again, you're going to need to get those in place and get them refreshed for the information at your unit for this to work the way it needs to. But we'll get into the specifics of how you set that up in a later video. There's also an example of this email merge folder. It may ask you to locate the database. I'm going to go ahead and connect it. If it does that, just go ahead and ask that it be connected. But basically, this is the template that gets sent out via email, and it pulls all of this information in. I'll just cycle through some of the records, and you can see it'll send an email for every one of these, and it looks you know, basically like this. You can edit this if there's specific instructions, or if you want to change this. Obviously, you'll want to change, you know, the references to the 137th in there, but all of this data up here will change as you refresh with your personnel files and your GU information, so don't worry about that. But as far as this right here, you'll probably want to change that to your unit, as well as modify this as you need to. So there's an example of the GU the mail merge. I'm going to quickly go over the statistical spreadsheet. This analysis workbook here connects to the database directly. It's a series of pivot tables, and if you're used to connecting, or if you're savvy with using pivot tables, you'll go in here and hit refresh, and it'll go back to the database, and it will refresh all of these tables, and it'll give you just some quick stats. This is just some stuff that we put together. You can modify this for however you want it to look. I've got some other things in here, and you can customize and create new reports as you need to. So this is just a quick reference for us. And I also mentioned as one of the features, there is an aging or a historical tracking of this, so you can see what the GU looks like, you know, on certain dates. Every time you do an import, it'll write a new version here, and so you can, The most recent one we have is 6.2, but you could click through, and every time you import it, it'll give you a new date, and you can see how it has changed over time by unit as you need to. All right, so there's that, and that's basically an overview of all the features that the database does. I do want to get into the database real quick. Let me do that. Let me change a couple things. So you'll want to get in here, and I've by default left all of the objects unhidden, but you can unhide that if you want it to be a little bit easier for someone. But basically, there's a lot of stuff that happens underneath the hood, but once you've got your data files out there, it's pretty simple. And again, I'll get into that, but I wanted to just run some of the reports. So here's an example of the reports. It'll give you by unit, open orders. It's got a debt listing, so here's all of your debts. Non-TDY orders, which basically what pulls in here are debts and MTAs, TRs, that sort of thing. Advances, if you've got any, our unit doesn't. And nor should you. There's also a missing Social Security number. If you've got a missing Social Security number in your database, it'll show up here. And what that means is they've probably either separated, or they're not gained yet, or for some other reason. I mentioned that there's a capability you can get in here and create there's a separated table right here. You can add their information, so it'll start to pull. It'll merge this information as well. So that's just a way you can keep track of people that you have to do research on to find out who they are on your GU. But if they do show up on your GU and there isn't a match, it'll show up on that report. That's basically it as far as an overview of the features. Again, the intent of this is to make your lives easier. I hope that it does that, and I look forward to your input and your questions. So please utilize the Facebook page, and we'll do our best to help you out. Thanks a lot.